Welcome back to Kerbal Space Program. We are launching from the surface of Moho and going for encounter with Jebediah's ship to connect it to ours and to safely tow it back to Kerbin. To do that, as in previous episode, we are going to use Kerbal attachment system, and it is going to be hopefully successful. So we are now raising our apoapsis and going into the orbit, the usual stuff. The only difference is that we're trying to match the inclination of the Jebediah ship, and we failed miserably. But that's fine. We got more than enough delta V to completely change our inclination and to encounter ship and then get it back home. Alright, so let's change our inclination here. Execute the maneuver node. And we are almost done. Now we're going to go for usual rendezvous maneuver. We already seen this one many times, so I'm going to cut the footage here, and I will see you when we are ready to approach Jebediah and to connect his ship to ours. See you in a bit. And here we are again. We are 100 meters away from Moho, and our Moho beast is slowing down. What we have to do now is we're going to change to Jebediah's ship. We're going to orient it properly so that we are facing our towing truck, and then we're going to stage it to make sure that we are only dragging the capsule and not the empty fuel tanks and everything else, the things we don't need. So we're almost oriented. That looks fairly good to me. Let's stage the side tanks and let's stage the capsule. Now I have to slow down a little bit more because staging capsule actually propulses it forward. And around 25 meters would be perfect distance. So Bill is going to take this connector and put it on the bottom side of the capsule. Hopefully it is close to the middle. Now we're going to grab this cable and plug it in. Immediately capsule starts to spin wildly. Not exactly sure why, but it happens. To control that spin, we need to control the spaceship from this capsule. But we also need to control our main ship. So let's try to align them perfectly. Good. By aligning the connector with the winch, we lock down our connection and make sure that it is solid. Exactly what we need for interplanetary travel. And for interplanetary travel, we are not going to follow the usual transfer window. We are going to start close to the ascending node of Moho, and we're just going to raise our apoapsis until it crosses the orbit of Kerbin. Why we're doing that? We're doing that because we don't have much fuel, and we really can't do it properly. So we are going to raise our apoapsis, and this is our burn. And as you can see, our ship is trying to turn around, and I constantly have to correct it. One thing I didn't account for is that when we add the capsule to the side of the ship, it upsets the center of mass. And because center of mass is no longer in the center, our center of thrust is not aligned with it, and the ship is always trying to turn. But fortunately enough, it is, well, not very easy, but not too hard to keep it facing relatively the proper direction. And because we are talking about such large distances, we don't need pinpoint precision. After we finished our burn, we are going to orbit around the Sun and wait for the encounter, which will happen eventually. And here we go. After many days in the orbit, we get an encounter with Kerbal. All we have to do now is correct it to make sure that we end up in the atmosphere and not go away back into interplanetary space. So here is our maneuver node. 20 kilometers per apsis should be sufficient, and we're going to execute it now. Time warp and burn. And just a little bit more. And it is good enough. If anything, we can change it when we are approaching closer. And here we are. After almost 600 days, Jebediah and Bill are finally returning home. Let's change our periapsis a little bit to 20 kilometers. Yeah, that should be sufficient to successfully aerobrake and land. And now let's just watch the fireworks. Thankfully, we don't use the deadly re-enter mode, or this everything would have burned away and nobody would have survived. Okay, now the tricky part. Let's try deploying the parachute and now disconnecting the Jebediah's capsule. Oops. I guess reading manual wasn't that bad idea after all. Okay, now we have to somehow disconnect the capsule from the fuel tank. And it's impossible to click the capsule. Okay, let's try clicking on the winch. Maybe we can do something there. And okay, that is weird. Oh. Well, Jebediah has met his fiery demise. He will be always remembered as the bravest crewman of them all. But Bill is still alive, and he brought back all the signs. That is exactly what we needed. So all in all, we can count this mission as successful. Even though Jebediah is now temporarily dead. But we can complete the science tree. We get latest robotic technology and electromagnet for the Kerbal attachment system. And at this point, I have to say thank you all for watching. Remember to like, dislike and comment this video in the section below. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to do in the next episode, but I think we can think of something. So until next time, goodbye.